Greg, these are the semi-finals. I always get a bit confused. Qualifying finals, prelim finals, semi-finals. What they are is the two games that then put these two teams into a position where they're one game away from the final. Wow. Just before we even start talking about it, what are your thoughts on what we've seen so far in the final series?
An amazing weekend, the first week of finals. Both teams 1 and 2, I wouldn't say comfortable, but probably weren't pushed as hard as what many thought. And the elimination finals were two cracking games. Roosters getting home by a point, the Sharks looking like they could have won at a number of through periods in that game, and then epic game up there in Newcastle involving Newcastle and the Raiders. So pretty good weekend of finals. And
here we are at the moment, a sellout in Auckland. It took less than an hour for Mount Smart to be absolutely chock-a-block.
Wow.
I don't know whether you're coming over or not for it, but I tell you what, Penrith, it's going to be wild out there at Penrose on Saturday night.
Yeah, no, disappointingly not coming over. I actually revisited Mount Smart Stadium in December. I was in New Zealand with SEN Radio, and I visited Mount Smart Stadium for the first time in 26 years. So for the first time since I left back in 1996, and just happened to be on a day when the Warriors boys were training, and Andrew Webster got me in there and met all the boys and all the coaching staff, and it was terrific. So got to catch up with Stacey before it all started, and I didn't realise what was going to happen at the Warriors this year and how good they were going to be on that day when I visited. But there was a good feeling at the training session, and it's been an incredible ride. I loved watching the Warriors this year.
Oh, thank you, mate. I mean, I think, our listeners and the people in New Zealand are going to really, really appreciate that. Know that, of course, you played here and everything else. But, look, it's just been a fantastic season. It really has. And it's so important from here, isn't it, to make sure that isn't just a one-off season, that this can finally be the base of something for the Warriors for the next 5 years, maybe a decade or more.
Yeah, you don't want it to be, a hit-and-run mission where, this season's great and then it sort of just disappears. But I don't think it will. I think, and I think that's why the season's been so good, because early days, and it was even pre-season challenge game, but first up when the Warriors played I think it was the Tigers,
yeah,
at home. And I remember saying, and I was working that night at Fox, and I remember saying, boy, this team knows what they're doing with the ball, and that's without Shaun Johnson. Now, even though at that stage of the season, and the Warriors were that good in that game, I thought, well, Shaun Johnson might struggle to get a spot here. They might have found their halves in Tamari Martin and Luke Metcalf. And, boy, was I off the mark there. And I don't think anyone would have realised at the start of the season just what impact Shaun Johnson was going to have on this side. And just, he's turned back the clock, not just, with his brilliant play, but he's doing things this year that he hasn't done throughout his career, and those effort areas that are so important to a team. He's led the way, which has dragged the rest of the side with him. So I think, we were talking prior to the game last week against the Panthers, and, I think everyone's thinking, well, the Warriors have been that good and they seem to be the side that can do without, they're not just a one-man band. They're a whole team, and that's why they've gone so well this season, because they have played like a team, and that's why I think they'll continue to have success. I don't think it'll be a flash in the pan season for them, but seriously, Johnson's been that influential with the team that it was no surprise in hindsight watching what happened out of Penrith last week.
Greg, I don't know how to say this. Might sound a bit kind of strange, but I think if it wasn't for the Warriors' season up the waz and having such an amazing turnaround, well, all eyes would probably be even more on Newcastle, because look at their season. They've won 10 in a row. Let's not forget how good they've been.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it was only midway through the season that Adam O'Brien said himself that, that yes, there is some coaches under fire, but I'm right at the front of the queue. So he knew what sort of position the Newcastle Knights had put themselves in the first half of the season. And I guess everyone was so critical of Newcastle because you knew that there was a team there, or you knew that they had the players to be better than what they were. And so surprised, but, with Saifidi brothers up front and Leo Thompson, a good young emerging front row, and all the players that they've got, topped off by Kale and Ponga, this is how they should be playing. But it's great to see. And, Newcastle is such a great rugby league city that they have jumped on. Not that they ever got off. Even the years where they have struggled, Newcastle fans are resilient. And they just kept turning up anyway, but now they're there in droves, and it's been great to watch. It really has. The run of Newcastle has been pretty special, as has the form of some of their individuals.
We had Monty Beetham on the program yesterday, and I asked him this question. I want to ask you the same question. If Newcastle were playing at home, would that make them, in your mind, favourites to beat the Warriors? Is that home advantage so crucial for the Warriors in this game?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. And just listening to some of the Newcastle players talk about the game against Canberra last week, and the biting incident seemed to spark something in the team, but I heard the players say, well, it was the fans. The fans got behind, like the fans just in that moment got on board, and they, the Newcastle players spoke about the importance of it. I think that will be the same as the Warriors. The Warriors have played out in front of sold-out stadiums for most of the year, and you can't help but get used to that and draw some energy and some inspiration from it. So, the Warriors at home get much tougher to beat, I think.
And you growing up in Penrith and playing in Penrith as well, there's so many similarities, isn't there? It's that real us against them, us against the big flash city boys and things. And of course, we're a one-horse town here, one club country.
Yep. No, that is absolutely true, and that I'll go back, more than 30 years when we won the comp in '91, and that's how we viewed it. We viewed it as, we weren't really that important in the league, and we hadn't made our mark in the game. We'd play semi-finals. We'd played a grand final, but we hadn't had one, and we thought we needed a grand final win to give us some presence in the game, because we were just the boys from the West.
Yeah.
We're the Westies, not as good as those from in town, and that, I think that's why our first premiership was so important. And the Warriors, the fact that they are they're the one team in the whole of New Zealand. So, and it's great to watch the whole of New Zealand rally around the Warriors this year, and it's been great for the game. I get so much pleasure out of the Warriors' good form, not just the people that I know that are still involved with the club, but just what it's doing for the game in New Zealand. And it's it is a rugby union country, and no one will dispute that. But this season, I think we the Warriors have just shown what a good team can do. What a team for the people, and just how it can generate support and enthusiasm for the game. So
totally, mate. It's been a great winter. It really has. It's put a smile on so many people's faces, and the fans go feral out there, and you know that as well. Just before we talk a little bit more about the game, may I say you've had it as a foot in both camps. No offence from this side of the microphone at all about the up the pars. I thought that was just a bit of humour and a good bit of banter, and it was kind of some people overreact to that kind of thing. But Greg, I thought that's what we want in rugby league, don't we? We want us fans having a bit of a crack at each other. There's no malice intended.
No, I know, but that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
So you've just got to be careful what you post, what you say. You've got to be so careful, because the world is so politically correct these days that you only have to upset some and then it's an issue. Yeah. So I agree, and Penrith copped so much heat after last year's grand final win against Parramatta when James Fisher-Harris said, "Para, you are our sons." Now, if that offends someone,
come on. Yeah, seriously, come on.
I think we get sometimes we need to have the ability to laugh at ourselves, but I think, in the current world we live in, we probably should have thought a bit more about what we posted. But anyway, we all move on, don't we?
We do. Greg Alexander, champion with us, 1991 with Penrith, of course, and you see him all over the screens every weekend, providing such brilliant coverage. How do you split these two teams at Mount Smart then? Is it that close?
I think it is. And look, I was just talking with a couple of blokes. You know, I'm down at Collaroy Beach at the moment, just been in the gym talking to the boys about the footy, and we all agree that it's a tough one to split because of the momentum that Newcastle have, because of the individuals they got in their team. But then, you know, the Warriors have had such a good season, and it is hard to split. The forward battle is fascinating. It'll be brutal. I think Fanua Blake has been, you know, if he hasn't been the best, he's been the second best front rower in the game all year. You know, he has dragged that team forward all year. So his battle up front, Mitch Barnett with the Saifidi brothers and Leo Thompson, big games generally won in the middle of the field. That's, you know, you go back throughout the big games just recently. You know, I'll go back to last year's grand final, Penrith Parramatta. Parramatta came in with Regan Campbell-Gillard and Junior Paulo, James Fisher-Harris, and Moses Leota. And Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris won the game for us in the first 20 minutes. And that's what can happen in big games. Front rowers, forwards, middle forwards can set up a victory in the opening 20 minutes. There is still work to do, but the physical battle is so important to win. And it's a great matchup between these two. And then there's hopefully, I know Sean's been named, hopefully he is good. I don't know whether you're hearing anything more than what we are over here in Australia, but he will make an enormous difference to the side. And along with, you know, I thought, when asked about how the Warriors could trouble Penrith, I thought it was through the middle. And I just thought the combination of Tohu Harris, Adam Fanua-Blake, and probably, you know, he might be the best dummy half in the game this year. I'm just, like, he might be the most consistent Wade Egan. He's had a great season, very smart dummy half, and that might be the way they go again. They've got great players on the edges, great finishers. The centres have been, you know, they're probably underestimated, the centres in Pompey and Berry, but certainly do their job and are dangerous when they got the ball. And you've got to stop Kalen Ponga. That's, you know, that will be the key. And he's shown over the last, in this run of 10 wins, he's shown that, he's shown why he is the highest paid player in the game. I think he's an amazing player. So there's the challenge.
Yeah, look, I was chuckling away to myself when Mick was saying on the weekend, and that he is just so effusive. I can't wait to see him play. I can't wait to see him play. Isn't that brilliant, though, mate? I mean, like, even guys like you who've overachieved so much in that, you'd still love watching the game. You still love watching a player that gets you out of your seat. Brilliant.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. You know, that's true, and that, you know, for the 20 years I've been commentating, like, you gravitate, and not always the you know, the flashiest players, but you do get excited about watching play. Like, I love watching Fanua Blake, being a halfback and knowing what the forwards, not what the front rowers do for the half. They lay the line, they give you time. So I always gravitate towards front rowers because I know how important they are for halves. So, you know, it doesn't have to be the Kalen Pongas, Reece Walshers, those players that can do things that not anyone else does. And, you know, Shaun Johnson for me has been that player over the last 15 years. Sean, you know, when he was a young player, and even for the first, you know, 8-9 years, he could do things that other players just couldn't do. And if other players could do them, they certainly didn't look as good as Shaun Johnson doing it. So, you know, he's one of those players that I've just loved watching over the years. He's battled for the last few years, and that's what makes the return this year so much better. Like someone that, well, the Warriors told him you can go and find another club. Like, people forget that. You know, so it wasn't just the fact that, you know, everyone says, oh, Sean's back home, he's happy. Yeah, that's certainly true, but everyone's forgotten that the Warriors said, Sean, you can go and find another club. You know, so the career was winding down slowly, and then all of a sudden it's the renaissance of Shaun Johnson. It's been great to watch, but we do get excited about watching the good players and just watching the game in general. Because all of us at Fox Sports, anyone that talks about rugby league, they love it. And people say to me, "Don't you get sick about talking about the game?"
No, how can you?
No, I don't.
No,
There's always something to talk about too.
Two quick questions before we let you go, and thank you so much for your time. This is Greg Alexander with us. One of them is just in terms of, is it bigger, better, more ferocious, and even faster than last year? I mean, every year I kind of think this game improves itself.
I think for the most of the season, we've been talking about the closeness of the games. You know, we've been talking about, you know, just how close the season is, and that was certainly the case, you know, up until halfway, and then there seemed to be a little bit of a split, and you know, the Tigers and the Dogs just weren't getting their next win, and but I think, you know, as for seasons since COVID, and the changes, the tweaking of the rules, I don't know what else to put it down to. Maybe the media coverage, like the media coverage here in Australia, in New South Wales and Queensland, it's blanket coverage. There is so much interest in the game that I think the media has played a big part in this resurgence since COVID, and it seems to be, you know, a relationship that the NRL have with the media outlets, that the game is just front and centre, but then the game on the field has delivered as well. So it's been a bit of everything that has seen crowds increase dramatically, that has seen, you know, record numbers watch it on television. It has been it's been a great thing for the game over the last 3 seasons have been incredible. And again, this is just another step up. We seem to continue to improve the product. We improve the coverage of the game, and therefore you get more people excited about it. And you know, helps to have a winning team in New Zealand to get everyone behind it. But yeah, it's been another great season.
Who wins it then out at Mount Smart on Saturday night, mate?
Well, I'm going the home team. I think the Warriors win. I think Melbourne beat the Roosters down there, and I think the Warriors win. And you know, then we'll have the top 4 playing each other. You know, they will have flip sides, and but that seems to me what is likely to happen. But I still it's a tough one to tip, the Newcastle Warriors game. It's not an easy one, but I'm tipping the home side.